I don't know if you've heard this story.
No.
But it's colloquially known as the Angel of the Gap. And what I say is this is a very Sydney-centric story, there's a place in Sydney called Watson's Bay. It is a beautiful part of Sydney that overlooks Sydney Harbour.
Yep.
At Watson's Bay, there is a cliff face.
Yes, famous for suicides.
Correct. It's called the Gap.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's an area over the decades people have gone to suicide, And I said, living across the road from a Gap was a gentleman by the name of Don Ritchie. Don Ritchie had a background in the Australian Navy and he was an engineer. He wasn't a mental health professional. He wasn't a psychologist or a psychiatrist. He wasn't even a counselling service. But Don Ritchie would be outraged by what he'd see. He'd see the police rescue turn up. He'd see the ambulance turn up. A couple of days later, he'd see loved ones of family members who had lost someone to suicide placing wreaths of flowers at the cliff face. So Don Ritchie decided to do something about it. If he saw someone standing there on their own, he would walk across the road calmly, non-threateningly, simply engage in a conversation, invite them back to his home for a cup of tea or coffee or even a beer. He would keep them safe while connecting them to help. They estimate that Don Ritchie saved over 200 lives. If Don Ritchie can do it, we all can do it, right?
That's a powerful story.
So I always finish up with that and say we all have a responsibility. We can do this. Who reckons they can't do it, And then you say, put up your hand if you think you can. And they'll put their hand up. It's great,
Wow.
But prior to them getting that training, they wouldn't know how to ask. Maybe they wouldn't know how to look for the cryptic, things in someone. And maybe we still, sometimes we're not going to be able to pick it up, right? But at least we're equipped now to go forward.
Well, at least there's one more person, another agent right there to pick it up if it happens to show at the right time.
Well, you know what? We've got physical claims, right? Physical claims, psychological claims are now 6 times higher than physical claims, right? The return to work, rehab, right? The return to work on the psychological claims is twice as long.
I think it's more than twice as long.
There you go, all right? I was trying to be conservative, right? More than twice as long. You know the stats, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculously long.
Yet we've got all these physical first aiders on site, and yet we've got the suicide first aid, which is the applied suicide intervention skills training. Why don't we have a focus on suicide? We should be, like when I say, the shark attack victims.
Yep.
Well, people are outraged by a couple of shark attacks. Why are we outraged about losing a building and construction worker every second day? Or, the rate of suicides in this country is twice as much as the road toll. We've just gone through a weekend of double demerits, right? Yet the rate of suicides is twice as big. What are we doing about that? Where are we spending the money on it?
What's the suicide rate for Australia?
So we're looking at, it's on average around about 9 people a day.
9 people a day.
So if
you do the
maths on that, because it fluctuates from year to year, right?
Yeah.
But it's normally around 9 to 10 people a day, right? So
it's around a little over 3,000.
Mate, we lose one person in a week to shark attack. We're all outraged. Why aren't we outraged about the suicides, right? So we lose 9 people a day to suicide. Do you know the cost of suicidal behaviour to the Australian economy?
No, tell me.
Oh, it's astronomical. It's into the billions and billions of dollars.
How? Why? Like if I were to assume if someone, suicides and kills themselves, the cost is only a funeral, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Tell
it's
me.
all those added services that you have, dealing with. I'm not going to step you through it, but just to say, and then if they're a breadwinner in the family, right, what happens then? Do they need to get support from, some support services from Centrelink or government or whatever?
Right.
So when they factor in all those, it's unbelievable. It does change. I think I'm not even going to try and guess, but it's in the billions and billions of dollars, right? And yet we're spending nowhere near that around suicide prevention, right? And which frustrates me. It frustrates, I guess, everybody that we can do a lot more. And if you've got the runs on the board, if we're evidence-based like we are, so you have the research to suggest that we may be on the right track, we can do so much more with a bit more money.